Ooh, it's September, and you know what that means?
That it's September.
It's the holiday season.
It's the holiday season. That's what you meant. Yes.
You blew your line. I know. Look, I know we're just barely getting into my birthday month.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And all of the Jewish holidays, which we're all so excited about to fast.
Yeah, I can't wait to not eat food because you're not allowed to eat food.
Yeah,
and somehow that means that I have to not eat food.
It makes me angry. It's a sin for you to make me watch you eat food.
When I say I'm kind of Jewish, what I mean is that you make me fast for Jewish holidays.
We want to prepare in advance for our November episode, which is a classic Ellie Meekly tradition where we don't have to do research and we want you to send stuff into us. It is your gift to us. It is your Thanksgiving gift to us. This year in November, we are going to be talking about our favorite LA holiday time traditions. So we're going to cover some, historical stuff, like the Great Pumpkin and all that sort of thing. But we want to hear from you the things you like to do, the events you like to go to, the things you like to see in the November, December holiday season, whatever holidays those may be for you. So send those in to us, la.meekly@gmail.com or on Instagram, la_meekly. You better do it fast because November is right around the corner.
Everybody waits till the last minute and everyone thinks I don't have to write in because they're going to get a lot. No.
Yeah.
You do it.
Nobody listens to us.
Nope.
And even fewer engage with us.
Yeah. It's so small. And then of the people who engage with us, there's even smaller are like those who care.
Yeah. Who are not bots. We ask for these things, and most of the emails we get say, do you want to make $10,000 a week selling these diamond rings that we have for sale?
And I say
on Instagram?
Yes every single time. Yes and then the subject line, my social security number.
Which is just how that's my signature on my emails. So send us in your favorite holiday traditions and you will be in an episode of LA Meekly.
Can you believe that? How did you get so lucky?
So that's social security number, la.meekly@gmail.com or la_meekly on Instagram. So send us that stuff. Now it's time for the show.
Oh.
Hello, babies. I saw La Bamba.
Oh, that's right. And you know what I like about La Bamba.
You know what my favorite scene is.
You know I like it when Buddy Holly was there for one scene. It's like, the stars are meant for the stars or whatever like that. The sky is meant for the stars.
Right, Richie?
Right, Richie?
They made it seem like the Big Bopper... I went to a screening of the Big Bopper. So it's on the
and you said he's not that big? Not that big.
I mean, maybe if I saw it in IMAX, that's the only way to fully capture the bigness of the Big Bopper. But they made it seem, the Big Bopper's in like 20 seconds of the movie. Yeah. They made it seem like he only ever greeted people by saying, hello, name. Hello, Richie. Hello, buddy. And it's a little insulting.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that's your interpretation of him anyways. I think that what's insulting is that you wish you came up with it.
I do. I wish I had written a movie about Richie Valens.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I liked it. I like of the music biopics, which I don't like many of them. I do like La Bamba.
By the time the movie was over, I had to remember, it's a biopic.
It's a biopic.
So that kind of changes my frame of reference about it. But like I was telling you, Richie Valens' brother and sister were in the audience with me. Not Bob. Bob is dead.
Bob is dead. Okay.
Which also, that movie should have been called What About Bob? The Richie Valens
It's very
story.
Bob-centric for somebody as awful as Bob.
It is Bob-centric.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, in the macho Latino community, a lot of love for Bob, which is not cool.
Yeah, you told me that, and it doesn't compute with me.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, do you have a lot to learn about macho culture. But this is, speaking of macho culture, this is LA Meekly.
The machoest podcast in town.
Los Angeles history podcast you can think of.
Get out of here, Joe Rogan.
Out of my way, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This is Daniel F. Kennedy Zaffron. Wait a minute. Is his name Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Like he took the middle name too, or is it just Robert Kennedy Jr.?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the birth certificate, but I mean, maybe it's Ferdinand.
I've been demanding Robert F. Kennedy's Ferdinand. Yeah. So who are you?
Oh, I'm Greg Zapruder Film Gonzalez. Hi,
Greg Worm in the brain.
Yeah,
Gonzalez Jr. And this is a Los Angeles history podcast where we obviously start every episode talking about La Bamba. But before we start anything,
yes,
we actually have a new patron. I think I forgot to tell you, actually.
You did forget to tell me.
I thought a new patron.
We were unloved.
It's Bob Valens. After Richie's death, he took his name, and he is still alive. I lied. We have this month a brand new patron named Allison Bellon.
Hi, Allison.
Is this person related to you? I usually ask you this when they first sign up.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not related, unless I don't know. But I'm
not even like a Richie Bob relationship.
No, I don't think we have a Richie Bob relationship going.
What about like a Big Bopper Buddy Holly relationship?
I think that we have a Waylon Jennings Buddy Holly thing going, where I have her wallet. And she's praying that I don't get in an accident and they think she's dead.
And you just have a heart full of guilt about Allison for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it makes my songwriting really good.
Well, all those for cigarettes after sex are really going to appreciate that. So, thank you, Allison, for signing up. You too, if you want to sign up, because Allison, she's getting a sticker. So you too can join our Patreon and be like Allison. Maybe Don McLean will write a song about you one day, like Allison.
Yeah.
But if you go to patreon.com/LA Meekly, you too can support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. We'll send you a sticker of Ellie Meekly, and at the $5 level, you'll get that sticker, okay? Don't worry about it, but you'll also get handwritten postcards from us every month from a different place in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps keep the show financially salient.
Mm-hmm. That's what all we're looking for is salience. All we're looking for is salience.
You know what my dream for Ellie Meekly is? That we can fill out tax forms for it. That's my dream. I know Richie Valens had a lot of dreams.
Yeah.
My dream is that I wanted to fill out a tax form in my native Spanish. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to do.
And I, like Richie Valens, have similar dreams about planes crashing right above my middle school or elementary school.
Much like Richie Valens, I once wore a necklace made out of snake. So before we do get into September, the month of the Jewish holidays and my birthday.
My favorite Jewish holiday, your birthday.
It's a federal Jewish holiday. So let's talk about something we did in August. And let me hear yours. I hope you didn't take mine.
I went to a Sparks game with our comedy family, the Shoop Troop themselves.
You went to a Sparks game without me?
Without you.
You know I love Lisa Leslie. Someone who probably hasn't played in 20 years and might not even be the right sport.
I wish I could fact check you. I do not know.
I'm pretty sure Lisa Leslie, she was either on the Sparks or she was a soccer player. I'm pretty sure she was on the Sparks.
Okay. I'm going to go with that pretty sure part. But I went to a Sparks game and it was a lot of fun.
They play at Staples Center.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The Crypt.
The
Crypto.com.
Crypto.com. This is c:/crypto.com. http://www.crypto.com.
Sports played here.
/stadiums. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went there. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time with my mommy, daddy, Chris and Cindy, baby brother, and the sister Nadav and Jessica Singer were all there.
Interesting. I mean, I love Lisa Leslie, and nobody even asked me.
It's weird, and you know that I love the sport of basketball.
You know how much I love a sport that I don't even know if their most famous player played.
It was a lot loose. I mean, I haven't been to a Lakers game in so long. Last time I was there was for the Kings,
and that was probably 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was probably 6 years ago.
That was when Lisa Leslie was on the
Leslie
Kings.
Was on the height of her career.
She could play any sport, man, woman. Those are the two sports.
But yeah, when I'm at a basketball game, I really get into basketball. And the Sparks are a great team.
I could see that. Because you got into hockey when we went to the Kings game. You knocked out everybody's teeth around you. You grew a mullet in front of me. I grew a mullet.
I bought a $400 jersey.
You moved to Simi Valley.
Valley.
I have never been to a basketball game because I really don't care about basketball, but I feel like I would probably get it. That's how I feel about football. Like if I went to, I'm almost afraid to go to a football game because I'm afraid of what it might unlock inside of me. Much like you going to a Kings game.
I'm literally wearing basketball shorts right now. I've been dribbling this whole time.
You are. I gave you a napkin. I'm worried like if I go to one of these things, I'm going to walk out of there like, can you believe what Kobe Bryant did in 1997? Like I will automatically be the guy who can name everything.
Yeah.
And I've never even seen a playoff game.
I think that would happen to you. I think
bandwagoner.
Bandwagoner. You're highly suggestible.
You know what? That's why you've had to rescue me from so many cults.
So many
the sparks, you know what? This isn't just a regular episode of Ellie Meekly. This is an intervention to get you to stop rooting for the sparks.
You have to stop. We're worried about you. You know the sparks are an MLM.
What does that mean?
Multi-level marketing.
Oh, I thought it was like the MLB, but that's like what they called the women.
It's the newest sports
the WNBA.
Yeah, the newest sports has hit the world as MLMs.
Yeah, I play in the MLM.
Yeah, I play in the MLM. And if you want to join, I can get you in right now. We can get you making some money right away. As long as you bring in 3 more people.
If you recruit 4 more outfielders, you can play in the MLM. So you want to hear what I did in the month of August?
What'd you eat?
Oh, well, actually, you were there when I ate it. We, of course, our last episode ended with me begging you to take me to IHOP. And guess what? We went to IHOP.
It was your make-a-wish. You're dying soon. And all you want to do is go to IHOP and
see a Sparks game.
See a Sparks game. And you wanted to spend 30 minutes being like, should I get this or should I get this? But I guess the 3 of us, we went with Ed.
We went with Edric.
Yeah. And the 3 of us spent the time being like, what should I get? The protein one or the other one?
Well, I think we had to shoo away the waitress like 3 times because we couldn't decide. But we were like, are the protein ones going to be too dense? Is it going to ruin the experience? I ended up getting the Cinestack pancakes.
Yeah.
Which are Cinnabon, basically 4 Cinnabuns on top of each other.
You were reading the menu and you kept saying Cinestack like you were saying Rosebud in Citizen Kane. Cinestack. You kept saying that to yourself. It was really disturbing.
What should we do with all these Cinestacks? I don't know. Put them in the fire. Oh, no, you'll toast them.
Wait, I'm almost done. Don't take it away. I'm not done yet.
But we also, because we were the main appeal was that we were going to get all the syrups. And we got there and all they had was old-fashioned syrup. And we had to ask them, like, that was another 30 minutes. Who's going to tell her to bring the syrups?
Yeah.
I don't want to be too forceful. I don't want to come on too strong.
What if she laughs at me?
But we had to ask, like, can you bring the special syrups? And she's like, oh, you want those syrups? Like, of course we want those. Why wouldn't those be at the table?
There are 3 things that you can depend on at IHOP, and one of them is that little rack of syrups that are different.
Yes. But apparently I don't know what the deal is, but you have to add, because nobody around us had them. Needless to say, I put a bunch of sugar on my Cinestack pancakes, and it was really good until it wasn't.
Yeah. There was not a single problem until we got up to leave, and then
gravity hit us.
Gravity hit us hard, and we felt god awful for the rest. I felt god awful for the rest. I didn't even eat pancakes. I ate like waffles with like a normal man breakfast, which is like hash browns and bacon and eggs
and testosterone juice.
Yeah, testosterone juice,
fresh squeezed.
I took everyone else's protein away from them because I'm F-wording jacked right now.
Yeah, I left there feeling like I don't think I need pancakes or IHOP for another year. And then I did get pancakes like 3 days later somewhere else. But I don't think I need IHOP for a while. But I'm glad we went. Yeah, I'm glad I got it out of my system.
Our annual trip to IHOP.
1 year from that day.
We're going to go back.
We'll be back.
And it's going to be even hotter next time.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was like the hottest day of the year where we also went to film part of our latest hit viral video.
How do they keep doing it?
I don't know.
And how do people keep not noticing?
I'm afraid she's going to listen, but no, she's not going to listen. My neighbor recognized me from the video.
Yeah. The one that thought that we were homeless.
The same one that thought we were homeless. Because if you haven't seen it, go to our Instagram, LA_Meekly. We made a video for 818 Day about famous homes from movies and TV in the Valley. And my neighbor walked up to me and was like, I saw this video about famous houses in the Valley. And you were in it. Like she was describing a dream she had that I was in.
Yeah, like she's a medium and she's foretold your future.
Little did she know I was filled with pancakes that day.
Don't bother me. I'm filled with pancakes, lady. Get out of my way.
You've seen the sign on my door.
Get out of my way or you're going to be a pancake too.
All right. That's what we did in August. We had a hit viral video and we ate a bunch of stuff and saw a bunch of Lisa Leslie.
Yeah.
Lisa Leslie's greatest moment on ice or whatever they play basketball.
She's my favorite member of TLC.
So this month in September, we are talking about celebrity gossip.
Oh, have you heard the one about that?
Did you hear?
Did you know that Ryan Gosling and Eva Mendes are married? Oh my God.
Did you know that Laura Dern's parents are Bruce Dern and another Dern? Who's Laura Dern's mom? Is it someone famous?
She's in Wild at Heart. God damn it. It is someone famous. Okay. Bruce Dern and... Oh, I don't remember her name. She's in Wild at Heart, though. Her face is caked in red.
Did you know that Maya Hawke's dad is Ethan Hawke?
And that she, why she looks like identical to Uma Thurman? It's because her mom is Uma Thurman.
Wait a minute, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, now we look.
Now
this
we're
was
getting
funny
into real
for a
stuff.
while.
Yeah.
You just blew. Someone call hello! Exclamation point! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke mated with Uma Thurman.
Yeah, they were married for a long time, and he cheated on her because he thought she was cheating.
Cheated on Uma Thurman?
Yeah, because he thought she was.
What? Ethan Hawke,
the dork, the dork, handsome dork, but a bimbo, kind of a bimbo. But he thought, I think, if I remember correctly, he thought that her and Quentin Tarantino were making it, so he like revenge cheated, but she wasn't. I don't.
At most, it was foot stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Sure, her ankle was all the way down his throat. But like that's not anything really.
If it gets to the calf, then you should be worried.
Then you should be worried. Yeah, he's a sword swallower.
He boa constricted her. Well, look, this is the sort of celebrity gossip we're going to get into this episode. Yeah. We're going to be covering...
The gossip is just like family trees that we weren't aware of.
Not even secrets, apparently. No, not even secrets. Everybody but me. Nobody tells me who Lisa Leslie plays for or who Maya Hawke's mom is. I feel like I'm out of the loop. People are asking me how I got in videos that we made. I don't know. I get no respect. So we're going to be talking about two of the biggest names in Hollywood gossip in Los Angeles history. We are going to be covering Louella Parsons and Hedda Hopper.
We are. The L.A. Meekley of the 40s. Of 40s
one
Hollywood
hates the
gossip.
Other one.
Yeah.
The other
one's completely unaware of it.
Because things are going so well. He's getting mistakenly recognized.
Yeah, wherever he goes.
Wherever he goes. So I'm going to start with we're going to kind of jump around a little bit because the two are
intermingled.
They're intermingled.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with Louella Parsons.
Okay.
Did you hear about Louella Parsons? They're talking about her on the LA Meekley podcast. Oh dear, how much further can her reputation sink? This is the most embarrassing thing to happen to her since Joseph Cotton kicked her in the big smelly butt. Which is a true story. Well, I don't think it was the butt. I think Joseph Cotton, I get into it a little bit later, but I think he kicked the feet out from under a chair she was sitting in.
I read that too, and I thought he did that at Hedda Hopper, but like
what's the difference?
Sometimes I was reading about...
It's like cat dog. If one of them gets kicked, the other one feels it.
It's so cat dog, because sometimes you'll be reading and like their stories are so... You'll be reading about one and it'll seamlessly talk about the other one. And you're like, wait. How long have I been reading about Louella Parsons? I've been trying to read about Hedda Hopper, but because like...
Right. It's Harry Potter and Voldemort. They are just forever dueling and always drawn to each other.
Yes.
And the sexual tension is through the roof.
Through the roof. Pulsating. Go ahead.
I'm here to talk about the mother Gaia of celebrity gossip, Louella Parsons, or as she was born, Louella Rose Altinger, in Freeport, Illinois on August 6th, either 1881 or 1893, if you asked her any time after she became famous. She started telling people.
Geez, these two have so much in common.
It's kind of, I mean, that's a big reason for the feud.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard, they were feuding celebrity gossip writers, but that's a big part of it of like, she just hates herself and she sees so much. Yeah.
Projection and manifestation.
I'm fine. You suck.
You suck.
You, the clone of me, suck. So she was born into a Jewish family with two brothers and a sister and a dad who died when she was very young. From a young age, she enjoyed writing and got her first job as the drama editor of the Dixon Morning Star while she was still in high school, and they paid her $5 a week.
Nice.
Yeah. How much did you get paid for your high school job?
Let's see. Inflation. I think I was getting $50,000 a day. And I blew it all.
I blew it to go to CSUN.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to my dream school.
Yeah. You can't sell dream without CSUN. Yeah, you can.
You can't spell unsuccessful without CSUN. So not long after high school, 1910, she married a real estate agent named John Parsons and moved to Burlington, Iowa, where they had a baby girl named Harriet. Yeah. But more importantly, this was where she saw her very first moving picture.
Oh my God.
The Great Train Robbery.
Was she one of the ones that jumped out of the way?
Well, once she was done running away from the screen, afraid that the train was going to hit her, she felt an itch, the itch of movies. But also, I don't think the Great Train Robbery is the one where people...
No, I don't think it is.
That's the Great Train Robbery is people robbing a train. The one where people were afraid of a train coming at them is called like a train pulls into a station.
I think you're right. I just like to accuse that. I like to...
Any train movie.
It's the train verse.
Oh, you saw Snowpiercer? Did you run out of the theater? You idiot.
It's the Trainiverse. Yeah,
it's the same train.
It's the same train. Across different movies.
It's also, that's the train from Carney's.
It's also
they retired him.
It's also the train from How to Train Your Dragon.
I ran out of the theater from that one. So the call from the City of Dreams came to Louella Parsons, Fort Lee, New Jersey. She started thinking maybe she could put her desire to writing towards writing movies, but her husband also got an itch only his secretary could scratch.
Because she had long arms?
Yeah, she had really good nails.
Yeah.
They were like caked with peanut butter and stuff, and he liked that. Once Louella found out about their affair, she kicked him to the curb, took baby Harriet, moved to Chicago in 1912, and later told everyone her first husband died in World War I, which was a war that at that point hadn't even started yet.
Oh my God.
But
he died negotiating the terms of World War I.
He died warning people that World War I was coming. Once she got to Chicago, she managed to sell a script to the local movie company, S&A Studios. It was called Chains, and she made $25 from selling this script.
That's now $26 due to inflation.
You'd be lucky to make that much in today's crazy.
Unless you were
Hollywood.
writing something like Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon in Chains. She claimed it was filmed in 1912 starring Francis X. Bushman, but no footage from any such film existed, even by the time that she was famous. So who knows if that actually happened. A lot of stuff in her, the footage went to fight in World War I and it never came back. Like a lot of stuff from her past, like even the year she was born, we don't really know because it was all just, gossip and lies, and it's hard to tell what's true. Except for a few things later on in her life. According to her, from the strength of this one script, she was then hired as the studio's chief scenario editor.
Okay.
So basically the head writer of this movie studio.
Yeah.
Others who knew the situation at the time said that Louella, it wasn't just because their script was good. It was that Louella was friends with the daughter of the best friend of the wife of the guy who ran S&A. And Louella begged her friend to introduce her up the food chain in exchange for buying movie tickets for her friend. So that'll probably what happened.
That's probably what'll happen. And I love the idea of, they call them scenario writers. And like, I'm sure like they had to write too, but the term scenario writer is just like, there's a dog and it's on a boat and the boat's big.
There's a train coming and just like mouth stuff, and we'll write the script later. Whatever happened, it worked, and Louella was making movies with and rubbing elbows with the likes of Gloria Swanson, Charlie Chaplin, and Mary Pickford was there.
Mayor
Pickford. Pants on fair? Bought pants at the fair?
That's a scenario, right?
Mary Pickford lies.
Yeah, Mary Pickford lies and her pants are on fire.
Louella's daughter, take two. Louella's daughter, Harriet, even appeared in some of these movies, credited as Baby Parsons, which was also the alternate title for Young Sheldon. Okay, I completely forgot I wrote that. That's funny that both keep... We can't get over Young Sheldon. Why did it end?
God, we're so lucky to have television to share these moments of Young Sheldon's finale.
It truly is.
The golden era of television.
The day Young Sheldon went off the air was truly the day television died.
Yeah, they sent him off to fight in the war, and we all grew up that day.
That's how Young Sheldon ends. Germany has just invaded Poland for the first time. Sheldon, we need you to figure out how to beat Germany. Actually, Mother.
Oh, Bazinga. It's a Bazinga berserker attack.
That's where he first heard Bazinga. That's what the Germans called their the prototype for Big Bertha. Launch the Bazingas! While he comes back Sheldon shock. And that was the original title of The Big Bang Theory.
He hasn't Bazinga'd in years.
He went to Europe making Star Wars references. He came back making Star Trek references.
My boy is dead.
The Sheldon I knew is dead. Long live Young Sheldon. But while working in S&A in Chicago, she had a weird new idea. At the time, all the emerging movie actors traveling between LA and New York had to do so by train. Again, these trains. Yeah. And it was scary. And that always meant a 2-hour layover in Chicago. So Louella thought back to her newspaper reporting days and got the idea that when these trains came in, she could run down to the train station and interview the actors passing through and publish what they had to say in a newspaper column in those 2 hours. So she took this idea to the Chicago Record-Herald and pitched it to the editor, who responded, "Who would be interested in reading about that?" To which I agree.
Yeah.
Who would be, but people are. Regardless, he still gave her the go-ahead. In 1914, Louella Parsons' Scene on the Screen column became the country's first dedicated movie column, written by Louella Parsons in Chicago.
Okay.
During this time, she wrote a few other S&A movies like Margaret's Awakening and The Magic Wand and His New Job, which now that I'm reading it, all sound like pornos.
They sound like pornos, yeah.
The last one, His New Job, was a Charlie Chaplin short.
Yeah, it's
emphasis on short and also makes sense. She also wrote a book about writing movies called How to Write for the Movies, and she married a riverboat captain named Jack McCaffrey.
The dream.
The dream. Writing Charlie Chaplin shorts and marrying a riverboat captain.
Yeah.
This all came crashing to a halt, however, in 1918 when her movie column got ended after the Chicago Record Herald was bought by a man who was about to become inextricably linked to Louella Parsons, William Randolph Hearst.
The big one. The big kahuna. Mr. California himself.
The elephant seal of San Simeon, William Randolph Hearst. Because of this, she decided to uproot again to market her movie column in a new city with new newspapers, New York City. Here, she restarted her column in the New York Morning Telegraph, but she got another crazy notion. This Hearst guy was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful enough to have almost ended her career with one cutting of a check in Chicago. Maybe this was someone whose good books were worth getting into, and what books he had. And what better way to a weird rich man's heart than through his sugar baby? Hearst, of course, had a long-running obsession romance with the young actress Marion Davies, so Louella, writing about movies, always made a point when talking about movies that Davies was in to say things like, Marion Davies has never looked lovelier. So she was purposely puffing her up.
Professional kiss ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dream again.
How do I attain this? Kissing ass and lying and clout chasing.
I feel like I do that every day. It doesn't work for me. I'm always writing, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your campaign is so masculine.
You're really going to be president.
You're really
going to do it.
Cheryl Hines has never looked lovelier. But he didn't even mention me.
Yeah, one time.
Now I missed my chance. Marion Davies appreciated this and struck up a friendship with Louella, which she leveraged to get close to Hearst, who was appreciative of any writer who could pump out propaganda that pleased him. So this is already 2 times she's tried to suck up to the boss of a company to advance her career, and it worked. It's worked both times.
Yeah.
Because of this, Hearst hired her to write about movies and puff up Marion for his New York American in 1922. So now she's in business with Hearst, but in 1924, a very famous incident that bound them together forever, like 2 people who poisoned each other and are holding each other hostage for the antidote happened.
I forgot about this.
Another Voldemort, Harry Potter situation. So in November of 1924, William Randolph Hearst was out on his boat, the Oneida. Is it the Oneiders?
Is it the Oneiders? Hey, that's the Wonders.
The Wanda.
The Wanda.
He's on the Wanda.
He's on the Wanda.
Every time you shoot that guy, you do. So he was on. William Randolph Hearst was on this boat with Marion Davies, some Hollywood friends, including Charlie Chaplin, and a bigwig director-producer named Thomas Ince. Is it Ince? Pronounced Ince?
Ince. There's a street in
Thomas Ince.
Ince. There's a street around MG or Sony that is Ince Way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Inch through the outdoor. That's what this segment of the episode is called.
That's funny.
It was Ince's birthday, so Hearst and the gang sailed down from LA to San Diego to pick him up, and then they were all sailing back to LA on this boat, partying together.
Okay.
Now, the cold hard fact of what happened, either this day or shortly after, that Thomas Ince was dead. According to Chaplin's secretary, who was also on the boat, Chaplin was flirting with Marion Davies, which made Hearst so jealous, he took out his gun, shot at Chaplin, missed, and shot Ince in the head, killing him.
Yeah.
This is what a person who was there said happened. Also supposedly on the boat was a one Louella Parsons who witnessed this whole thing. However, Parsons and Hearst came to some sort of blackmailing agreement that she would never say a word and push a fake story about how Ince died in exchange for basically employment and power for life in Hearst's empire.
Okay.
So if she didn't spill the beans, he would make sure she was set for life. This is the legend.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever really know because the official newspaper stories that came out about this event, some of them written by Parsons, were first that Ince had fallen ill with indigestion on the boat and died a few days later. Then the stories were changed to Ince was never on the boat, but rather fell ill at Hearst's house and then died a few days later. It was a very sketchy and confusing story, and non-Hearst newspapers started referring to the boat as William Randolph's Hearst, which
that's pretty funny.
Once I read that, I always started spelling his name as Hearst.
It got in your brain, the German of my idea.
Much like Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s worm, it just got in my brain. But both Hearst and Parsons insisted that Ince did not die on that boat and that Louella Parsons was not on that boat. A couple months later, Louella was promoted to movie editor for his Universal News Services in 1925. So basically, she became the head of the entire movie division of his newspaper empire.
Strange.
So a weird timing.
Yeah, weird timing. Strange. Yeah, I don't think he was shot. I remember.
Were you there?
Oh, it's suspicious.
Yeah, I think that, what do they do? I think they like made sure his body was cremated really quickly so that there couldn't be an inquiry.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like nobody's ever going to really know what happened, but no matter what happened, something weird happened.
All the characters were there. Yeah.
All the characters were there. So Louella Parsons is on top of the world. 1925. She's got a great job working for the most powerful man in print. She's making a ton of money. She was cheating on her husband with another married man named Peter Brady. She had it all. And then she got diagnosed with TB and was told she had 6 months to live.
Oof.
She had been working so hard writing and having an affair that she had only been sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. She was just worn down. And then TB took her.
Yeah.
She was also incontinent. So every time she sat down, she would leave a little puddle of pee-pee. So keep that in mind as an unspoken addendum to every story you're about to hear about.
Every time you hear her sitting down in a story, just think that
like the people who do with the fortune cookies in bed. At the end of every sentence I tell you about Louella Parsons, add, and then she got up and there was a puddle of pee. So Hearst sent her out to Palm Springs to basically give her the most comfortable life possible for her until she died. But of course, Southern California is nature's cure for TB. So her disease went away and she begged Hearst to come back to New York. I want TB. Now I want malaria. So she wanted to come back to New York. He said no. She was already out here and it was clear that LA was becoming the new heart of movie making. And that meant she was needed here to cover the stories and gossip that went along with that. So on to LA it was for Louella Parsons for good. She got a column in Hearst's Los Angeles Examiner called Flickerings in Filmland.
Cute.
And this is really where Louella Parsons became Louella Parsons. She had her pulse on every movie being made in town, but it wasn't just movies she was reporting on. It was the onset and offset lives of the people starring in and making these movies. The juice, the gossips, the scandals, the humanity, the malaria. To do this, she needed sources.
Okay.
She had some assistants that would go around asking people, and she'd also make friendly with actors and producers to get in their good books to impress upon them. You tell it to Louella first. Like that's what she made people know. She would also pretend to be kind of dumb around a lot of people so they would feel like they could say things around her and it wouldn't matter. But she was listening to everything that everyone said around her.
That's great.
And then there were her more devious methods.
Yes.
She set up financial agreements with people who weren't necessarily in show business, but were present in these people's personal lives. Florists, hat check girls, PAs, hairdressers, receptionists in law office, and even so far as people working in doctors' offices.
Oh my God.
If anyone with a name in Hollywood walked into any of these places, ears were kept open and personal files were peeked at.
Wow.
And anything that was found was immediately reported to the spider in the middle of this web, Louella Parsons.
Jeez.
People would say that Parsons knew when an actress was pregnant before she did. And she kind of did. Like, because she would, like, receptionists in a doctor's office would check the doctor's report and tell Louella, which is so unethical, so illegal and so mean and bad.
Yeah.
She even installed her daughter as a spy of sorts into Hollywood. Harriet, who was secretly gay and also formed the Hollywood Women's Press Club, where women writers and reporters would meet up at the Brown Derby for lunch to gossip and give tips, which sounds like a lot of, I'd like to join. Got a job as a junior writer at MGM in 1928, thanks to her mom, and then a job at Columbia to direct and produce a series called Screen Snapshots in 1934, also thanks to her mom. This made her the only female producer in Hollywood at the time, and one of 2 female directors in all of Hollywood was Louella Parsons' daughter. In return for getting her these jobs, Louella expected her daughter to tell her whatever she could from inside the inner sanctums of these studios, an arrangement that Harriet resented greatly.
Yeah.
Louella even married a new man, which may or may not have been entirely for her own nefarious deeds. The year was 1930, and the man was Dr. Harry Martin, who was affectionately known as Hollywood's clap doctor because of his specialty.
Because he was known for his applause.
He was so supportive.
Yeah, so supportive.
His specialty was curing the venereal diseases of the rich and famous.
Wow.
He'd also handle secret abortions that needed to be done. He was also a raging alcoholic.
Cool.
One story is that he got really drunk one night, as usual, at a party at Louis B. Mayer's house and fell asleep under the piano, and people tried to wake him up, but Louella said, "Let Docky sleep. He has surgery at 7 a.m.
Oh my God.
Then apparently in this same story, his famously long news story, hint, hint, flopped out of his pants, and someone yelled, "There's Louella Parsons' column."
That's pretty good.
And that person?
Dorothy Parker.
Louella helped install her new husband as the chief medical officer at 20th Century Fox, so he would take care of all the medical issues of all the stars there. So if anyone came in with any gross thing, Louella would hear about it. Okay. So she was just like putting spies everywhere that she could get information. She has many spies with many eyes, and sometimes they have long dongs. She was absolutely dirty and devious, and sometimes criminal in the way that she got stories. One time, Clark Gable's wife was in her office, and for whatever reason, and this happened a lot, whatever reason, she confided in Louella that they were getting a divorce. Why would you? That's the last person you tell.
It's like telling a microphone. She's a human microphone. She's gonna just broadcast it.
I haven't paid my taxes. I gotta tell Herbert Hoover, the only man I can trust. So she told this to Parsons, and she literally kept her in her office against her will as she wrote and sent out a story on the divorce and made her stay there until it was in the papers so she wouldn't tell anyone else and risk losing her scoop. Wow. So she held her hostage so that she could get the scoop on her divorce that she was going through.
That's crazy.
Another time, she was with Mary Pickford, who considered Louella to be a friend, and Mary confided in her that she and old Dougie Fairbanks were getting a divorce. For whatever reason, thinking that Louella would honor their friendship and keep it a secret. Shortly after, Louella broke the Hollywood gossip story of the century that Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks were getting a divorce.
Jeez.
But it also totally depended on who she felt like hurting that day.
Yeah.
She knew about the affair between Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, but kept that a secret because she didn't feel like hurting them.
Right. Okay.
So it really was just, whatever she felt like.
Yeah. Once you cross me or what? Oh, that'll actually get me some.
Yeah. Oh, I actually like that movie.
Yeah.
I don't need to ruin your career.
Yeah.
And she was most certainly not above being bought off by actors or the studios in the form of either cash or dirt on other people.
Jeez.
Often her gossip was purely spiteful against people she didn't like, and sometimes it also wasn't accurate. She'd also be especially after you if you were gay, Mexican, or in a mixed relationship.
Right.
And you had reason to not get in her crosshairs because what she printed about you in her column would either make or break your career or the movie you had coming out. She called it Parsons Power, whereby with a slight flick of the typewriter, I was credited with being able to save or ruin Hollywood careers.
Jeez, that's so bad. That's so abusive. No, it's fine.
No, I think it's fine.
I think it's actually pretty cool.
For one person to have that much power, I think that's pretty cool.
That's totally fine.
And she was right because almost 400 newspapers around the world as far away as Beirut and China printed her column that was read by over 20 million people.
Oh my
So all of those people, all of those tastemakers in Beirut were reading about Mary Pickford's divorce.
I will not watch the new Mary Pickford movie. That's them in Beirut.
Because I can't.
Yeah.
She was the queen of Hollywood gossip, and everyone acknowledged that. And for this, she was well compensated. She was making $500 a week, which today is over $9,000 a week, which was a minimum wage. She'd be seen at all the hottest places in town, dressed very stylishly with their signature crazy hats on which she'd spend $5,000 a year on hats, which is, she worked out of a house in Beverly Hills at 619 North Maple and lived in an estate in Northridge called Marson's Farm. She was also Mia Farrow's godmother. There's some gossip for you. She was a lot of people's godmother, but Mia Farrow was one of them. She loved Woody. Wait, no, Woody Allen wasn't his mom. Her dad.
No.
It was Woody Allen was her daughter's dad.
Yep.
AKA his wife.
Who was it? Oh, her mom's Margaret O'Sullivan. That's who her mom is.
Uma Thurman.
Uma
was
Thurman,
her mom.
actually. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
She also made it into a few movies herself, like Show People, Hollywood Hotel, Without Reservations, and Starlift.
Okay.
All of your favorites.
Yeah.
Hollywood Hotel, I have heard of. And Without Reservations, I feel like I'm thinking of.
There's another one.
No, I'm thinking of Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, right.
She really made it when they made fun of her on Looney Tunes as Louella Possums.
That's funny.
She even wrote non-gossip stuff a little bit more, like the script for the movie The Isle of Forgotten Women back in 1927, and another book in 1944 called The Gay Illiterate. 20th Century Fox bought the rights to this book for $75,000, but never made it into a movie. Some suspected that it was just disguised hush money for not printing a story about Katharine Hepburn and Norma Shearer having an affair.
Wow.
Talk about the gay illiterate. Yeah, that's
scandalous.
That's scandalous and a lot of money to keep. But like, that's going to hurt their careers. Your sales will go through the roof.
Everyone loves the both of them.
Everyone wants to see the both of them together.
Yeah.
Just make that movie and call it The Gay Illiterate.
Yeah, that's fine. They're both wearing pants. It's great.
One example of how much power she had, in 1941, our old local hot dog guzzler Orson Welles was getting ready to release the first feature-length movie he directed, Citizen Kane.
Yes.
Louella was sent to a pre-screening of the movie at Hearst's request, and this movie sounds pretty good. I think you should go see it. And it's going to make me look really good.
Yeah, I think they talk about me a little bit in that movie.
They might. They might mention
you were
me. There. There was this movie about a power crazy newspaper magnate, and you were there. And an elephant seal was there. So immediately after that sled was in the furnace, she ran to the nearest telegram store, wherever you send a telegram, sent Hearst a telegram, stop Citizen Kane, and then I guess also stop. The movie, of course, was a thinly veiled dig at Hearst, so she didn't want a major Hollywood hit piece coming out, making the source of all her income look bad.
Yeah.
So she did everything in her considerable power to stop this movie from coming out. She threatened the head of RKO that if they released this movie, she would spill the mountain of beans she had on him.
God.
They ignored her, and the movie was set to premiere at Radio City Music Hall in New York. So Parsons called the theater and threatened them that if they held the premiere, she'd see to it that no media would attend this. So basically a press bomb threat.
Yeah.
And it worked. Radio City canceled the premiere, but it debuted somewhere else. So Parsons was left with just trashing the movie and Orson Welles, calling him a communist. But all this did was make people feel bad for Orson Welles and want to see this movie, while also making Parsons look kind of petty and evil, which, make no mistake, she was. One of her greatest sources of power, maybe even more so than her column, was her radio show. She had first tried one in 1928, where she would interview celebrity guests live on the air, but it failed horribly because, as she attributed it to, the celebrities were idiots. They were inarticulate, and she said that many of them don't speak English, and I don't mean the foreign importations.
Wow.
She tried another one in 1933 that also failed, but in 1934, she finally made it work with the Hollywood Hotel. Maybe that's what I knew it from. Yeah. Or the place that called itself the Hollywood Hotel.
That we would do open mics at.
Terrible. You forgot one part of that. A terrible open mic. So this was on CBS Radio. It was really just a talk show with celebrities on to promote their movies, but they were the first show to ever feature sneak peeks of movies. But since it was 1934 and on the radio, that just meant actors would read scenes from the movie, from the script.
Weird.
It was sponsored by Campbell's Soup, so every guest was compensated with a case of soup. And
I would have done that.
If you were a repeat guest, you got to pick which soup you got.
Oh, nice. Wow. I moved up into the upper crust of society in Hollywood.
Well, that's a new tier on our Patreon level. You can compensate us in soup if you want.
Yeah, we will accept it. And if we do a particularly good job with one episode, we get to pick the soup.
Yeah.
Billionaire soup.
Can I have gold nugget soup? So Louella was beloved by people around the world interested in Hollywood, but as you could have guessed, the actual people in Hollywood hated her guts.
Yeah.
And all of her guts did have a different hat on. They hated her spying on them. They hated having to watch their steps. They hated having to live in fear. They hated how much power she had. Other writers also hated her.
Wow.
They felt she was a terrible writer and only had the job because Hearst liked her or was being blackmailed by her, which all of this could be true.
Yeah.
There was one story about Joseph Cotton, like I said. So he kicked the legs out from under, I think it was, he kicked the legs out from under the chair she was sitting on in a restaurant, but he kind of deserved it though, because what she did to him of outing him that he was dating like a 17-year-old or something. God. So like, yeah, you kind of deserve that, Joseph Cotton. But there was one person Louella Parsons hated more than anyone hated her. The Joker to her Batman, Hedda Hopper. And now, Greg, you are going to cover Hedda Hopper. So, Greg, you are going to tell me about the flip side of the coin that is Louella Parsons. It's kind of the same coin.
It's kind of the same coin, yeah.
It's the Romulus to her Remus. The alien Romulus to her alien Remus.
Like most of you, I knew two things about Hedda Hopper. She's the old Hollywood gossip columnist that wasn't Louella Parsons, and she wore a lot of kooky hats.
Why did they both wear hats?
I don't know.
So weird.
I have no idea. What the casual old Hollywood fan might not know is that she was a far-right conservative who decimated the careers of anyone who she suspected was communist, gay, or otherwise uncooperative to her agenda.
That's another thing they both had in common of like, oh, you hate, like they didn't just hate not They hated anyone who wasn't American and not just like Mexican people or Asian people. They hated Europeans. Like if you were from like Britain or France, which most white supremacists are fine with, they still hated them. Like they were just totally pro-American
to like so nationalist.
Weird.
Very weird.
And they had a hat that said, "Make America American again."
Make America more America. She's behind the self-exile of Charlie Chaplin and claims Senator Joe McCarthy wasn't pushing hard enough to get answers out of people who were on trial for their communist ties during the Huac trials.
I think you have too much evidence that you're accusing people with.
Make him answer. Hedda Hopper is a foe. She also couldn't write, and I don't mean her metaphors have asymmetrical imagery. I mean like she couldn't spell. She dictated all of her columns to people over the phone, and they wrote for her.
I think I read that she didn't. She was the gay illiterate.
She's the gay illiterate. Hedda Hopper is all hat, no head.
All hop, no Hedda.
All hop, no Hedda. Hedda was born Elda Furry, which is her name, not a Dungeons and Dragons character archetype.
Or a subgenre of some sort of sexual
she's not a sexual proclivity. It's not a BCLE cult. It's not a
I'm not just a furry, I'm an Elda Furry.
I'm an Elda Furry. It's a rank in the furry kingdom.
It's kind of like the Church of Latter-day Saints. I'm an Elda Furry.
She was born to conservative Quakers in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, or I also read Altoona. I read both of them in 1885. They're like a 20-minute drive, so I don't know what's the distinction. She said she was born in 1885, although she fudged her birth year, and she said she was born in 1890 when really she was actually born in 1885 to buy herself 5 more years
both
of being
of them.
an Yeah, both of them.
I actually read that her line was, "I'm 1 year younger than whatever Louella Parsons says."
That's funny. She was smack dab in the middle of 7 siblings, and that's a hard thing to be. When she was really young, she saw Ethel Barrymore on stage, and it changed the trajectory of her life. Not only did Barrymore's acting chops stir something in Little Furry, but the glamour and the costume and the attention she commanded all seemed appealing to Elda. She decided she wanted to become an actress. Without her strict parents knowing, she joined a theater troupe in Pittsburgh, but soon left in 1908 at the age of 22, where she fled to New York to become a theater actress, first landing as a chorus girl, then moving her way up to acting. She got work and met plenty of entertainment people that would be invaluable.
Acting's all in the legs. I've always said that.
It's all in the legs, and boy, does she have legs. She
got at least 2 of them.
Maximum 2. She got work and, like I said, and, met a lot of people that were going to be invaluable to her later career. Like you brought up, she was known for her statuesque legs and complexion, but there was one thing that she was lacking: talent. Even she
when
would
you've got
say
legs like those. The legs are the talent.
The legs are the talent. Yeah, get rid of that torso. Let's keep the legs.
Let's turn you into a skinwalker.
Yeah. She would even agree that she had no talent. She enjoyed being part of the theater world, but she was realizing she was a bad fit for the center stage. It was there, though, that she met actor William DeWolf Hopper. I also saw his name as DeWolf Hopper. And because her name was Furry and her name was Wolf, they had to get married.
She's furry like the wolf.
Yeah.
Furry like the wolf.
Yeah, furry like the wolf. Go ahead.
But no, I saw that his first name was DeWolf also, but I was thinking like, how is that possible?
Okay. Here's how much of a catch DeWolf Hopper was. He had been married and divorced 4 times. He was 4 years older than her father. And he was an actor. Ooh, God.
Oh, God.
Yeah, 3 strikes.
Go back to he's 4 years older than her father.
In her biography, it had this passage about DeWolf. Tall.
He's hungry.
He was tall with bold features, no hair, and a bluish tint to his skin from gargling silver nitrate for his throat.
What? But I feel like you're describing Dr. Manhattan. 4
Dong out, yeah.
4 years older than her dad.
But he was said to be very charming and popular with women. What? Why?
Well,
gargling silver nitrate.
But that blue tint.
Oh, yeah.
Women go crazy for a man with blue tint.
Like Nightcrawler. Anyways, they got married in 1913. She was 28. He was 55.
Wow.
She also lied and said her name was Elda Curry for some time, which was not an item on a menu. It's a bad fake name. 2 years later, in 1915, she gave birth to William de Hopper Jr. And 3 years later, Elda Furry / Elda Curry was ready to change her name legally. She was frustrated that her name, Elda, fit in so perfectly with DeWolf's ex-wives' name, which were Ella, Ida, Edna, and Nella.
Oh, my God.
So Elda consulted a numerologist who gave her a new name, Hedda.
I read that she had what is the numerologist say?
What, they're letterologists?
You should change your name to 7. 7 Hopper.
Which honestly isn't much better than Elda, and Hedda still sounds like his ex-wife's name.
It does.
She can't escape it. But the alliteration spoke to Elda, and now she's going to change her name to Hedda Hopper. That name change would come in handy for her divorce from DeWolf Hopper in 1922 after years of infidelities, his insults, and his attempts at making her a stay-at-home, completely dependent wife and mother. Because she ran away from home.
I need you to prepare my liquid nitrate or whatever I'm gargling.
Yeah, this isn't silver enough. Because remember, she ran away from home to one of the biggest cities in the world to become an actress. She was far too independent to allow a man to keep her caged. And also, like, after DeWolf Hopper, she never married again. And she only had, like, maybe one partner, and it didn't go very far. She was very...
What base did they get to?
This is the kind of exactly. This is the kind of stuff
Louella Parsons would know.
I need to know all about his private life so I can make it public. And
Did you hear who was at Lover's Point and got to fifth base? What does that mean?
By 1960, she was getting roles in movies, the first being Battle of Hearts. And by the time she was getting a divorce, she was earning about $1,000 a week, which was equal or more to what DeWolf Hopper was making. She appears in the first MGM movie that had Louis B. Mayer as a boss, 1918's Virtuous Wives. Over her career, she'd appear in 140 films, as well as her appearances as herself in different movies and TV shows like I Love Lucy. It's a whole I Love Lucy episode with Hedda Hopper, which I...
Wait a minute. Was it the actual Hedda Hopper?
Yeah.
It must have been when they were in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just remember Hedda Hopper.
Something about Ricky needs a publicist, so I don't know. Hedda Hopper's there,
and Hedda Hopper's there. This is Louella Parsons writing the scenario.
This is your neighbor remembering an I Love Lucy as she saw,
and you were there,
and
you had a crazy hat on.
She usually played the aristocratic, well-dressed society woman and often dressed herself for movies, creating a brand for herself. The idea of herself she was creating was a classy, catty, bitchy older woman who dressed very well. The wacky hats, which is what she is mostly known for, is an extension of her fashion sense. And I kept looking for like an origin or a quote about them, but she wore bizarre, silly, beyond parody hats because she liked them. Like, I don't think there's that. She saw herself as a fashionista, and once her hats became a trademark of her, she was able to stretch the legitimacy of them to fit her persona.
But what's the deeper meaning?
Yeah.
Was she trying to cover up that she really thought herself better than these celebrities?
Was it to create a false sense of security by like, oh, I have a sense of humor. Look at my hat. Reveal yourself. Reveal yourself to me.
Was it to hypnotize people with the bananas and pineapples atop her head?
Atop her head. This persona she was forming for the screen was about to Frankenstein off the operating table and into real life, as it would become her gossip column persona. She needed that bitchy persona to survive through the Depression, as she lost her entire savings in the stock market in the crash of 1929. And then the Depression hit. And roles for her type were becoming scarce. She only got a handful of parts midway through the decade. Her rate also dropped considerably, as now she was only getting $1,000 per film instead of per week.
Boo-hoo.
She was a mother and a go-getter, so she worked through a number of small, odd jobs related to the entertainment industry, like talent agent or real estate agent, or helping to sell cosmetics made by Elizabeth Arden. Her big break into the papers comes thanks to the executive assistant to Louis B. Mayer and cutie attached to William Randolph Hearst's silent movie star Marion Davies, who helped Hopper by introducing her to Sissy Patterson, the publisher of the Washington Herald, who loved Hopper and her stories about Hollywood, and in 1935 asked her to write a letter from Hollywood, which would be her first published work of gossip. Writing for the Washington Herald was a one-time thing, and her career as a radio gossip went nowhere, but in 1937 she got signed to the Esquire Features Syndicate to write the gossip column, which was just
Esquire magazine?
Esquire Feature Syndicate, which
that's the mafia.
That's the mafia. I just read Esquire Feature Syndicate. It didn't really tell me what that covered. Whatever she was writing for the Esquire Feature Syndicate, it was just another arm of MGM to help with promotions and fixing stories, like a lesser Eddie Mannix, but still a crucial and powerful position.
Verbal Eddie Mannix.
I'm
the verbal Eddie Mannix.
I'm here to say. I say lesser Eddie Mannix, but not really. Like, as we'll both learn, the two women we covered today were incredibly powerful in the industry, and they both had their hand in snapping careers in half, like if they didn't like someone. It was rumored that she would also serve another purpose for Louis B. Mayer, to lessen the power of Louella Parsons had over the studios and her readers. Like, she was out to dilute the water.
Yeah, split the
difference.
Split the check, yeah.
Split the check, yeah, exactly. A year later, the Los Angeles Times would make her column Hedda Hopper's Hollywood a regular feature. This year was...
And that's big. LA Times.
That's really big. And once you're working for Chandler, like Chandler's just another crazy boss you're working for. And he's totally going to support all her anti-communist, anti-progressive,
but
racial...
wait till his grandson who surfs comes in.
He's a pretty cool guy. The year was 1938, and Hopper was 52 years old. Her career as a gossip columnist with a recognizable name was propelled forward in October of 1939 when she broke the story about James Roosevelt, producer and executive VP at Samuel Goldwyn Studios, and yes, the son of FDR.
Oh, God.
She had been scooped about the distance from his wife and the appearances with other women, and she confronted James Roosevelt about his marriage status, I think like outside his home in robes and slippers. And because he was not in a position to confirm or deny anything, Hopper went forward with a story about him getting a divorce from his wife. She broke the story ahead of everyone else and got her column and name on the front page of Los Angeles Times. This was her announcement to the world that Hedda Hopper had arrived and Louella Parsons now had a rival.
Yeah, I read that was like her tactic. Like Louella Parsons would kidnap you or whatever.
Yeah.
But Hedda Hopper would just show up at your house at like 2 a.m. and be like, there's a fire.
Yeah.
What did you do at Sardo's on Friday night?
What did you do to Theda Berry? Bera.
What'd you do to Todd Berry?
Yeah, what'd you do to Todd Berry? Tell us.
What did you do to Chuck Berry? What did Chuck Berry do in the bathroom?
By 1942, she had moved Hedda Hopper's Hollywood from the Esquire Feature Syndicate to the Chicago Tribune New York News Syndicate and tripled her readership.
God.
Soon, her column would reportedly appear in a total circulation of over 22 million readers and could be found in the LA Times, New York Daily News, the Chicago Tribune, and many other papers, domestic and international.
Which are actually newspapers I recognize, as opposed to all the ones Louella Parsons was in the Chicago Mechanic Turnkey. What are these weird,
these nonsense
William Randolph Hearst nothing newspapers?
All of this attention, 22 million readers in some of the best papers out there, and some of the most legitimate papers
to us these days, the most legitimate.
This is from a woman who didn't always double check or even single check her sources and would often dictate her articles to assistants who would then write the pieces for her. She was a rookie upstart with no discernible skills other than being a loud asshole who shot to the top. So her list of friends was low and her rivals were many, but she had her supporters who were mostly just her employers and her readers. I remember hearing there's a really great series from, you must remember this, Karina Longworth podcast about Louella versus Hedda. And she would talk about Louella versus Hedda is a very Trump versus Clinton thing in that we might not like Parsons, but she worked her way up the ladder legitimately. And here comes this new rookie who doesn't know anything, who just is kind of mean and gets attention for being mean. Her true power comes in presenting the public with a persona of a celebrity, whether they were a Hollywood somebody or a politician. And when they crossed her, she would reveal their true identity. Sometimes she would sustain a star's image intact when she knew it wasn't, like Rock Hudson or Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher's marriage. She was not shy from publishing private talk with celebrities in the press, as much like Louella Parsons. But if she truly hated somebody, it would be all hats on deck. You like that?
All hats on head.
Yeah, all hats on head. I did that for you.
It was caps for sale.
She, of course, had a bitter rivalry with Louella Parsons, who was at one time a friend of hers, but then once it became rivals, it was, we hate each other. The two were constantly trying to outscoop each other, and the biggest outscoop... Here's what I read about Citizen Kane.
Did you know that it's the best movie ever made?
It's about William Randolph Hearst.
No. No.
Why isn't there William Randolph Hymns?
William Randolph Hearst and Hymns.
Hearst and Hymns. Yeah, Hymns.
No, it's called Xanadu. It's not called... What do they call it? Hearst Castle?
Hearst Castle, yeah.
And Jesus. Here it is, Citizen Kane living in Hearst Castle.
Kane Castle. I read that Wells told Parsons, who they were kind of pals, no, the movie's not about Hearst. And she went on a trip thinking it was not a big deal. It was just like it was just a Wells premiere, like a private screening. And Hopper went and right after the movie ran to the phone and outscooped Parsons. But now I don't know if that's true or not. Now I have to reread the thing I read. Because I'd been reading so many things. Yeah, wait, this is about Parsons.
Wait,
actually.
who?
Yeah, which one's which?
Wait, it wasn't Citizen Kane.
Yeah. She constantly attacked actress Joan Bennett, star of one of my favorite noirs, Scarlet Street. So for one Valentine's Day, Bennett said...
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome. Bennett said Hedda Hopper a skunk in the mail with the note, "You stink."
And this was the inspiration for the critic.
This was...
They had to change it for copyright reasons. What is it, a live skunk or a dead skunk?
It was a live skunk, and it was adopted by James Mason after.
That's good. This is a beautiful story.
It's pretty cute. It made me like James Mason more. Joan Bennett also took out $800 worth of ad space in the shape of hearts, and apparently in the ad found a way to call Hopper a frustrated and jobless actress. Hopper retorted, "I didn't know she had that much money." Pretty funny. P.S. She stinks. She stinks. That was her thing. Yeah. She made a lot of enemies, rightfully so, because she sounds like a Marjorie Taylor Greene with a hat. And at times she seems harmless, but she wasn't. If she truly loathes someone, she can cause a lot of real damage. And remember, she hates communists, which in the 40s, 50s meant like progressives. She thought of herself as morally superior, so anyone who acted outside her morals would get blasted, like Ingrid Bergman getting pregnant out of wedlock with Roberto Rossellini when she was married to another guy.
A spoiler alert. But that's, well, what were you going to say? Because I have the other side of the story. And
just that she got mad at her, Bergman, for doing that. So
Hopper did?
Hopper did.
That's not the way I read it.
Oh, boy.
Gossip. We'll hear about this later.
Hey, maybe two people can get mad at Bergman.
It's true. No. Her? No.
Come on. Remember that they always had to do opposites. So if one was mad, the other one was happy. One of them told a lie and one of them told the truth.
Exactly. One of us is lying. The Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons story. Actually, the subtitle, both of us are lying.
Actually, both of them, yeah. So it's now time to talk about Charlie Chaplin, known progressive and fornicator. So to sum up, or to get started on this particular story, Charlie Chaplin had a casting couch. Of course he did. And one of the girls he met during their screen test was a woman named Joan Barry, who he started a relationship with and cast in one of his upcoming movies, Shadow and Substance. She was 22, he was 52.
At least she was over 18.
Yes, I agree. But after a while...
Hedda Hopper's one to talk about that relationship?
Come on, Hedda. Come on.
How are her legs?
Okay.
If she has good legs, any man can marry her, no matter what the age.
Yeah, I'm marrying the legs, and the legs, timeless.
The legs ageless. Timeless. Methuselah can marry those legs.
Hey, come on. But after a while, Chaplin ended the relationship because Joan Barry was acting erratic. Later in life, she would be committed to a psychiatric facility. After the breakup, she would stalk Chaplin and even broke into his home. She had 2 pregnancies terminated that were Chaplin's, but after the breakup, she found out once again that she was pregnant and claimed that it was Chaplin's. Before she took a blood test to find out if he was the father, Joan Barry took the story to Hedda Hopper, who also didn't demand a blood test or even ask a second person to vouch for Joan Barry's sanity. She immediately went to the presses. This story blew up, and Hopper was now even helping the FBI indict Chaplin for violating the Mann Act, which made it illegal to transport women across state lines for immoral purposes. Because in 1942, after the breakup, Chaplin had paid for a round trip from California to New York. And Chaplin says it was meant to persuade Joan Barry to stay on the East Coast and get her out of Hollywood. On the trip, Joan Barry says that they had sex. Chaplin says they didn't. It was Hopper who was supplying the FBI with information on their relationship from private conversations with Joan Barry. Finally, Joan Barry took...
I heard that the receptionist said, and J. Edgar Hoover's taking notes.
Yeah, go.
But then what did she say?
And both their legs are in the air. They're laying on their stomachs.
They're on a corded phone from the 80s somehow in bed.
Finally, Joan Barry took a paternity test, and Charlie Chaplin, you are not the father. And he starts doing like a whimsical dance with a cane dance.
Twirling it.
Yeah, twirling a little cane dance.
But it's all in silent, and then a title card comes up. Whoop, 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 whoop.
The blood test was deemed inadmissible in a California court, and in 1945, it was decided by a jury, all hopped up from news
hoppered
up on news, decided that Charlie Chaplin would have to pay child support for a child that was not his until the child turned 21, and he did.
That's pretty weird. Like that's kind of like Charlie Chaplin probably, he should, but like that's kind of unfair. That's like in the court of law.
In the court of law,
that
was not his child.
Case. Yeah,
that was not his child.
Crazy.
He was acquitted on the Mann Act charges because the evidence was flimsy, but Hopper didn't mention...
What about the Woman Act, huh?
Come on. What about fair stuff?
Himstonhurst.
Hopper didn't mention in the press that he was acquitted of those charges. She just continued bashing his character. And now that she has attacked his private sexual encounters, she took a swing at his politics, which were not private. Because I should mention, while Louella Parsons strictly stuck to Hollywood figures, Hopper was attacking politicians the way she would attack Hollywood figures, and it was just one big cloud of like conservatism. So The Great Dictator was released in 1940, and now we all look at it as this great...
God, she was against The Great Dictator?
Yeah. It was looked at.
This is a slander piece on my boss. I mean,
my boss, Adolf Hitler. We look at it like a great piece of anti-fascism. Like this is this is really progressive, and this is the way we should be thinking.
First and foremost, I look at it as a comedy.
It's just so funny. Like the day the clown died.
It's just so funny. Like life is beautiful.
So we look at The Great Dictator a lot differently than Hopper and her pals at Huwok, who looked at this as evidence that Hollywood liberals were trying to sneak progressive communist ideas into films. So without much evidence, Hopper claimed that Chaplin had made a $25,000 contribution to the Communist Party, which was a lie, and it ended up in Chaplin's FBI file. She continued in the press.
Which was already brimming.
Yeah, it was
bursting
thick.
at the seams.
Yeah, bursting at the seams. She continued in the presses to link Chaplin to the Communist Party and fervently sought to have him blacklisted, which led to the cancellation of his permit to re-enter the U.S. after a visit to Europe unless he was willing to testify in front of Huwak. He knew that he was doomed if he did this.
So she kind of got him deported.
She got him deported.
She helped tip the scales into deportation.
She helped his decision to not come back to the U.S. and he remained in Europe.
Well, that's another, like I said, they hated not just like Mexican, like people not just who weren't white.
Yeah.
They hated white people from Europe too, which is so weird for these crazy conservatives.
You had to be American.
You would love a British person.
Not like Mother Britain to you. You should love that, but you don't unless they're also conservative.
Unless they're from Germany.
All of this Charlie Chaplin stuff was thanks to the chaos brought on by the incredibly conservative loudmouth nutjob Hedda Hopper, who acted with very little evidence. She was one of those people who would use her section of the paper and influence to call for the Hollywood blacklist, giving unending support to Huwak hearings and would loudly object to blacklisted writers getting work. When the Hollywood 10 refused to answer Huwak's questions, Hopper became outraged and claimed they were ducking behind the Bill of Rights, crying the rights to freedom of political thought. She thought the public had the right to know what was going on in their private lives, in their heads, and their unwillingness to testify about their political affiliations only convinced her more that these men were communists. She absolutely did not know.
Privacy is communism.
Famously. She did not know, but that didn't stop her from using her piece of public paper to lambaste these men. And remember, like, this was their livelihoods. They had to go, like, they had to do fronts because of this. They couldn't get work because of this. Yeah. And I kept thinking, like, how did the studios were sometimes on the writer's side, but like because she had created this frenzy.
Business.
Yeah. She created this
They're
frenzy.
On the business. What's good for the business is good for Weyland-Yutani.
She also attacked movies that showcase complicated ideas of America like Blackboard Jungle and Crossfire and attacked the movies in the papers. She used her devoted readers and together they would boycott movies that use blacklist writers. At a screening of The Sandpiper with Liz Taylor and Richard Burton, get your bleeping finger ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Greg, he got his once in a podcast length allowance for a bleep that he can have. So if you've got children in the room, please teach them about sex and take them out of the room now.
And remember, Liz Taylor was a rough character. Okay, so I had a screening of The Sandpiper, which had Liz Taylor and Richard Burton. They were also in the audience. Hopper started complaining when Dalton Trumbo's screen credit came on screen, causing Liz Taylor to turn around and yell at her, "Hedda, why don't you just shut the f*** up?" This was 1965. Remember that Spartacus, which marked the return of Dalton Trumbo, and some see it at the end of the Hollywood blacklist era, was released in 1960. 5 years later, and she's still going on about Dalton Trumbo.
Well, I mean, these conservative, like there's Donald Trump people still going on about
Hillary's emails
and Bengali or whatever they're talking about. These people can't let things go.
No, this is all they have.
Yeah.
The small scraps of evidence in my favor.
And another thing, he wasn't Spartacus.
He didn't even write in the bathtub. Hopper wrote until her sudden death from complication with viral pneumonia in 1966. She died the same day.
We had viral pneumonia. My neighbor recognized me from our viral pneumonia.
Yeah.
And you were coughing up blood.
You liked my viral pneumonia and you didn't comment on my viral pneumonia?
I shared my viral pneumonia.
She died the same day as Buster Keaton, who's infinitely more talented and worthy entertainer.
Who got the biggest column? Like, whose death was bigger?
Honestly, I was reading a LA Times piece and she was mentioned first.
Weird.
Yeah, but he was mentioned more, but she was mentioned first. Through the years, she's been played by the likes of Fiona Shaw, Judy Davis, and Helen Mirren. She's remembered as being a well-dressed catty gossip with kooky hats when she should be remembered as being a fascist who couldn't spell. That's my piece on Hedda Hopper.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah,
you didn't need to
sometimes
clarify.
They're the same thing, yeah.
Well, so I'm going to get back into the Louella Parsons story and sort of talk because these two, the feud between these two, like I said, they were inextricably linked. Like what they sort of became, the power they had fed into each other.
Yes.
So there'll be a little bit of backtracking because there wouldn't be a Hedda Hopper without Louella Parsons.
Yes.
Because Louella Parsons had an agreement when they were both still back in New York and Hedda Hopper was just an actress with show-stopping legs. Parsons would write favorable reviews of Hedda Hopper in exchange for Hedda Hopper being an informant to Louella Parsons for the New York gossip.
Uh-huh.
But beyond that, they liked each other. Mm-hmm. Like at this stage, they liked each other because like I said, they saw so much of each other. They both hated people not born in this country. They saw each other that they were two tough women in a horrifically male-dominated industry. So they looked out for each other. One thing you did, like you mentioned that she was in, Hedda Hopper was in Louis V. Mayer's first movie.
Yeah.
He also tried to casting couch her. He tried to force himself on her and she refused. So she needed people like Louella Parsons on her side because the bigwigs are not like, unless she does the thing that she doesn't want to do, they're not going to help her.
Right.
So she needed these women who could help her. And there was really only one woman. But, like you said, so she started writing her own column for various different reasons. At the beginning, Parsons didn't care, even though she kind of helped create this, because Parsons was so powerful at that moment. She was just, Hopper was just an ant. Like, what's that little hat down there? That ant wearing a hat. Like, it didn't matter to her. But then she did get that LA Times job, and that's when it did start mattering, because that was too close to home, too big of a newspaper for Louella Parsons to ignore. Hopper invited Parsons to a party in her honor of getting that job with the LA Times. So Parsons showed up fully dressed, craziest hat you've ever seen. It had a taxidermied raccoon on top. She walked into the house, immediately turned around and left just to make a point.
Wow.
And now this was when the feud was on. Hedda's influence grew to match Parsons, and Hedda Hopper got a TV show on NBC Sunday nights that went up against Ed Sullivan.
How did she do? Did she have the Beatles on?
She had the Beatles first, and
she scolded them for being British.
I hate you guys. Is it true that you fired Pete Best and nobody cared? So she also, what it seemed like Hedda Hopper had a vendetta against men, maybe because of what she had to deal with, but like going after Charlie Chaplin, like her power was that she kind of kept men in line.
Yeah.
Because like what I read was that she broke the Charlie Chaplin thing because she wanted people in Hollywood to know, aside from hating commies, to know, like, if you're a man having a relationship that I don't approve of, you better watch yourself.
Yeah.
And she claimed that it was so effective what she did to Charlie Chaplin that she was at a party one time and she saw a producer she knew was married flirting with a woman who wasn't his. So she caught his eye and wagged her finger at him.
My God.
And he immediately left.
That's not so bad.
That's the good side of her power. But then she caught the eye of a European.
Ew, you speak a second language?
And it's both English. So now there were two wild beasts terrorizing the perverts and just the regular people of Hollywood. So between the two of these two monsters, they had about 75 million people reading their columns or listening to or watching their shows. And that at the time was about half the population of the United States. So they were two of the most powerful people in Hollywood and can make or break your career depending on their mood that day. If you wanted a career in Hollywood, you had to get on their good side, which is why every Christmas cars would line up in front of both of their houses bearing gifts from celebrities like a Corleone wedding. They'd just be like, oh, please, I have a gift and I'd love to kiss your ring. Please, Hedda Hopper, can I please kiss that crow beak you have sticking out of your hat?
They're getting taxed.
It is. And the studio execs use this to their advantage as a threat to their stars to keep them in line. Like, if you misbehave, Louella Parsons or Hedda Hopper, I'm going to tell them what you did and your career's over. The studios had helped create both of these two, but once they got to the height of their powers, they couldn't control them anymore. Yeah. One person described the two as Frankenstein's monsters escaped from their labs. Like, they were just rampaging through Hollywood, fleeing from fire left and right.
And they had no checks and balances, it seemed. Like, they could publish anything they wanted.
It didn't even have to be true. Nope. Like, a lot of times it wasn't true. Hopper thought that this was all funny, this feud. Like, she was like, oh yeah, this is great, and knew that it was good for business. And like, if people knew they feuded, then they're going to want to read both of their columns. Louella genuinely hated this.
Oh my God.
And she was jealous in a really ugly way of having to share her power. Like, that was her throne, and now there was a sidecar attached to it that was growing. And sometimes the bitterness on Louella's part led to collateral damage. So here's the story I heard with the Ingrid Bergman thing.
Okay.
So Hopper maybe wasn't a fan, but she was being told by the studios to, in the lead up to Ingrid Bergman's roles in The Bells of St. Mary and Joan of Arc, she was told by the studios to create a saintly, perfect, virginal image of Ingrid Bergman to make sure that the movie said, oh, she really is Joan of Arc. She really is The Bells of St. Mary, whatever that is. Parsons, because Hopper was doing this, like you said, you're doing that, I'm going the opposite. She did one of the riskiest and nastiest things that she had ever done. She published a story claiming Bergman was cheating on her husband with Roberto Rossellini and then was fleeing to Rome to have his child. Nobody knew anything about this, and it came completely out of left field, and it wasn't clear whether or not Parsons knew this to be a fact or if she was just making it up. But everybody ran with this, and for this, everyone in Hollywood turned on Parsons because they were like, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Turns out it was true. But nobody could figure out how she had known that. Her assistant came out many years later saying that Howard Hughes had been furious one day with Bergman for delaying production of his movie because she was pregnant. So in a jarred, pee-pee-fueled rage, he called Louella Parsons and told her everything. Wow. So that's how she did know. And it was all true. So Ingrid Bergman's reputation got thrown under the bus just so Louella Parsons could spite Hedda Hopper, which is so nasty.
Yeah.
And after this incident, the studios got together to figure out a way to get Parsons and Hopper to be friends or at least play nice before every single one of their stars' reputations was ruined. Wow. All of you, you're all having affairs with Roberto Rossellini.
He's not even that handsome. By the way, Ingrid Bergman's gorgeous.
And Roberto Rossellini,
give me.
I keep thinking of Roberto Benigni. Yeah, I don't know what Roberto Rossellini looks like, or Federico Fellini. I'm thinking of the two of them, but I can't pick your Roberto Rossellini.
Fellini is a nice, great, big fat man.
If only they had a baby. Mamma mia, what a bambino. So Hopper was willing to have a truce because, again, she didn't really care. Yeah. Like, this did not mean anything to her, but Parsons was so angry and so bitter, and she refused. She said, so many people say we do not like one another. Who are we to argue against such an enthusiastic majority opinion?
Oh my God.
They did seem to have a truce regarding their kids, though. Like, Hedda Hopper would write favorable reviews of the movies that Louella's daughter was in. Louella invited Hedda to her daughter's wedding. But nobody's stranglehold on Hollywood lasts forever. Not Westerns, not Marvel movies, not even Pauly Shore. And so it went for Parsons and Hopper. They started losing their stranglehold. By the 1960s, their power was fading. A bunch of new gossip magazines started coming into existence, which diluted their readership, which in turn diluted their influence. Mm-hmm. Plus, the studio system was changing and executives had less control over the lives of their stars. And on top of that, morality was changing in America. Our Europeans are okay now, as long as they're not Italian. What was scandalous in the 30s was commonplace in the 60s. Yes. Like having an affair with Roberto Mussolini. Yeah. Everyone was doing it. Chastity was out. Drugs and rock and roll were in. Mm-hmm. Richie Valens is dead. Ringo Starr's here.
Yes.
It didn't help that Louella Parsons became a devout Catholic late in life with a 10-foot tall Virgin Mary in her backyard. So she became even more righteous and preachy as the country was getting more secular. Her and Hopper's words just didn't hold sway over the younger audience. In 1962, the LA Examiner that was carrying Louella's column, which is not her husband's dong again, just to be clear. Someone at the mortician is carrying that at this point. Rasputin's daughter had possession of it.
Yeah, she has a collection. She's like Pamela DeBar's.
So the LA Examiner closed and she had to move to the Herald Express, which was a lot less prestigious from this already not very prestigious newspaper. Around this time, Louella's health started to deteriorate, and in 1965, she retired from writing and handed off the column, again, not her husband's dong, to her assistant, Dorothy Manners, who had secretly been writing it for a year already.
Right.
So she's gone. That same year, Louella was moved into a rest facility in Santa Monica with a private nurse paid for by William Randolph Hearst. So he took care of her till the end of her life. Wow. She slowly became a recluse and became mute and reactionless as her mind slowly faded away before dying on December 9th, 1972. The other two, like you said, Hedda Hopper died way back in 1966 of a hit viral pneumonia. So Hedda Hopper, just to illustrate what this lifestyle, what it led to for both these people, Hedda Hopper, her behavior estranged her from her child and her grandchild. She lived the end of her days at the tail end of her success alone and lonely. Before she died, she did get to be in one more movie, Hedda Hopper, a small role in the Oscar, mostly just hat. But when Hopper died, Louella's daughter went to visit her mom in the rest home to tell her the news. When she did, she's well on it. She's got dementia, like she's not there anymore. When she did, Louella, who was barely sentient, she sat silently for a long time and then said the last cogent words she will ever say. Good.
Hey, I agree. That's so funny.
So that I'm sure those two are like battling it out in hell.
Right.
She would not let go of how much she hated Hedda Hopper.
Hey, I got those people too. I got those people in my life too.
I've got a whole list of when I'm just lying there a vegetable in a nursing home, you come and tell me all the people I hated who died, and they'll take the tube out of my mouth, and I will say, thank God.
Thank God.
And die myself.
Thank God I got to hear those words before I leave this mortal coil.
I mean, like, celebrity gossip is so dirty and kind of gross, like TMZ and that sort of stuff.
It is, yeah.
But really the people who are kind of responsible behind it, these two big figures, were also just like everything you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no, like I was saying, you know, for Hedda Hopper, like she had a chip on her shoulder with like being sexually assaulted by Louis B. And like, so I could kind of see her crusade, but like Louella Parsons was just mean.
Yeah.
Mean and bitter.
I mean, both of them were so mean, and they were really sneaking their conservative, moral, high horse stuff into
and you only get one bleep.
Yeah, I only get one bleep. They're really sneaking that into every gossipy thing. Like it.
Yeah. Well, gossip by its very nature is just cruel. Like it's just catty and mean.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And
the second these microphones are off, we're going to be doing it.
I'm going to go to Des Moines right now and read up all the stuff about Gracie Abrams and what's his name. I got to know.
But it's just the bottom feeders of Hollywood, which is already a industry that is feeding on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gross. Kind of a icky stories.
Yeah, icky stories.
But boy, do I love that the last thing she said was good.
Good. But I do love old Hollywood gossip, though. It really, I mean, now that they're all dead and all the everything,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't, now that it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Who's having whose baby?
I have a Tumblr thing saved of somebody asked an old Hollywood Tumblr.
It's on a tablet that I got from Mount Sinai.
It's a screenshot of a photo. But someone's like, what's the 10 best old Hollywood gossipy things you know? And it was a list, and I ate it all up. So I wish I could remember a single one. But it was good stuff.
No, yeah, there was some good juice in this episode.
There was some good juice.
Yeah, and not all of it was about OJ. So before we get into our listener question, we have our pre-listener question plug. So again, to remind you, send us in your holiday traditions. So we will read it on an episode and talk about it and say how stupid your beloved traditions are.
Why would you ever want to do that?
Yeah, so send us those holiday traditions as soon as you can, la.meekly@gmail.com or Instagram, la_meekly. So now our listener question.
Yes.
It's from our old pal, Dan O'Keefe.
Oh, hi, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
I'm blowing you a kiss.
I'm giving you moisture from Arrakis. So he asks, what's a stereotypical LA thing that you've never done? You know, I feel like I've done a lot recently, but I've never been to the Greek theater.
Okay.
I've never gone to a basketball game.
Sure.
I've never gone to a Sparks game, the quintessential LA experience. But I haven't been to a Clippers game.
Yeah.
Never had Roscoe's. I don't think I've ever had King Taco.
Okay.
I don't think I know I've never been to the Magic Castle. I've never done a celebrity home tour.
Yeah.
I did just get a Sprinkles vending machine cupcake the other night.
That is pretty touristy, though.
That was a big moment.
That was a big moment. It must have been so. You must have been so happy.
I was. When the screen came up with my cupcake, I tried to climb in to join the rest of the. Bring me to your children.
I've been trying to think about it, thought about it all day, and I could not think of it.
You've just done everything.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything, but I was like sitting like, what do tourists do?
I've never been to the Forum. Also,
I've also never been to the Forum.
I haven't been to the Coliseum either.
That's weird. That one is strange.
Saving myself for the Olympics. I've seen it. I've seen the Forum.
Sure.
I've never been inside.
I've never I think horseback riding through Griffith Park, like the equestrian center.
Done that.
I've never done that. Horses love me with their big dongs, their big columns just swinging around. Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Ed's column.
I feel like I've done all the touristy. There's a lot that I haven't done. I understand that, but I
have you seen a movie at the Chinese theater?
I have. We saw Force Awakens there. I haven't been to the Hollywood Christmas parade in a very long time.
I've done that.
Yeah,
it kind of sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks because it takes so long.
Sure, but I don't. Is that a touristy thing? Like to me, the touristy things are anything on a postcard, and all the stuff on the postcards I've done.
Have you taken a picture with Jack Sparrow in front of the Chinese theater?
Oh, I've never done that. I've never done photos with the weirdos.
I've only taken a picture with a minion.
I want to say horseback riding up to the Hollywood sign.
Have you ever been to the Watts Towers?
I haven't been to the Watts Towers.
I haven't done that.
There you go.
But I wouldn't say that's quintessential. Like I'm thinking seen the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, gone to Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah.
Gone to downtown and seen a movie.
Gone to downtown and been called a white devil. Have you done that?
I haven't done that. I've called people white devil, but I haven't been called the white devil.
Try the other side.
Yeah.
Walk a mile in my shoes through downtown. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, what's like a quintessential LA experience? I've had a Randy's donut. That's why I was trying to think of food things.
Yeah, I bet.
You've had Roscoe's?
I haven't had Roscoe's.
Okay, we got to go to Roscoe's.
Let's go to Roscoe's. Let's cross that off the list.
We've been to Musso and Frank's. We've been to
the old
Philippe's. We've been to Cole's.
Did you hear about Pacific Dining Car?
It's up and running again?
Yeah, let's go.
You can ride it to San Diego now?
That was the train thing. It burned down. Like half of it burned down.
The one in
that
downtown?
we went to, yeah.
Not the one in Santa Monica.
No, there's another fire.
Were they still shoveling coal in it?
Yeah, that was the problem. They were trying to get it up and running again.
That sucks.
Stupid.
Well,
I know
it's not like it was
suck.
coming back anyway.
I know, but
it could have been a Carney's.
It could have been a Carney's. It could have been anything. It could have been a little museum.
It could have been a Carney's contender. Yeah, that sucks. But no, I feel like we've done pretty well of seeing. Yeah, like we both kind of make a point of like seeing the things in Los Angeles,
and we've also lived here our entire lives. So even true. Like the things that like I've never actively swam at Santa Monica, but like as a kid, I think I was like, come on, we're going to the beach. And
I've been in the ocean.
Yeah, I've been to the ocean before. It's all the same.
Have you ever murdered Robert Blake's wife?
No, I got really close though.
I murdered his niece.
Yeah, I murdered his niece.
So yeah, Dan, way to try to get us. We got you.
Yeah, we got you, O'Keefe.
Yeah, okay, O'Keefe. That's how we're going to end every time he asks a question. Yeah. So yeah, that's some celebrity gossip.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you sat around with your glass of red wine and are watching Mario Lopez. Yeah, put Mario Lopez's show, whatever it is that he does, mute it and just play this episode. Imagine we look like Mario Lopez.
Yeah, imagine that.
When in reality, we look like George Lopez.
I feel like Maria Menounos and Mario Lopez are trapped in the same hell together, and I wish they would both break out. I like them both.
I wish Mario Lopez could have a better life for himself. I feel like he was one step away from being Robert F. Kennedy's vice president.
He's so close.
So yeah, we'll see. Have a good September. Enjoy all your Jewish holidays. Yeah. I think they might be in October this month, actually. Enjoy my birthday.
Yeah, enjoy my birthday.
And hey. We'll see you for our October spooky episode. And that's been yet another episode of LA Meekly. Running out of the theater from an incoming train on the screen since 2013.
That bullet train was too fast for me.
Brad Pitt was so scary coming at me in that movie.
Train to Busan?
Train to Busan?
Too scary for me.
Train to Busan? Train to my face. I don't know.
You don't know. You're right.
Train works better in Korean.
Yeah. It's much more lyrical.